Hello everyone, I'm Safia from Magic Light Artista. This is my Calligraphy for Beginners tutorial series and I'll be doing the alphabet in uppercase and lowercase. We do 10 styles from every letter. From our last tutorial, we started doing 4 letters at a time to speed up and learn fast. And now we have completed up to N. And I have given you a free practice sheet for every letter. Use them and keep practicing because after all, practice makes perfect. As usual, we'll be using our Crayola markers. We started off with Crayola markers and we will be continuing with Crayola markers because that is the cheapest option you can find as a substitute for a calligraphy pen. Next, I will be using a pointed pen. So I'm going to demonstrate it with the pointed pen as well as we have done in our previous tutorials. So if you don't have a Crayola marker or a pointed pen at home, you can still do calligraphy. All you need is any pen. So you can use a fine liner like this. Anything you can write with. It doesn't matter as long as you can write with it. You can use even a gel pen like this. All you have to do is follow my tutorial for calligraphy with any pen in the link above and you can do calligraphy in no time. Today we'll be learning O, P, Q, R. So before we begin, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so you will be the first one to know when I upload a new video. So the first letter for today would be lowercase o. So let's do a basic O we have learned in forming letters. So I do an upstroke and then I do the oval. So at the end of the oval, I bring it a bit backwards and then continue it to the next letter. So I do the oval and then continue it. So for the second style, we're going to do the same O, but the continuation wouldn't be going inside the O, but instead I'll be drawing it outside. So it's the O with a small piece outside to connect to the next letter. Third style. Now this, I'm going to do the oval a bit open from the ends and then connect it with a loop. So I do this, but instead of connecting it for the starting point, I do a loop and continue it to the next letter. So we'll draw the starters for this as well, the connectors from the previous letters. And the fourth style, I continue the connector and then also do a loop at the end. So I continue the connector and then do a loop before I continue to the next letter connector. For the fifth style, I do the connector or the upstroke and then I start from the middle of the line and then do an oval and complete it all the way to there and do a loop. Sixth one, this would be a bit similar to the fourth one, but instead of looping it to the connector at the end, I just stop it there. Seventh one, this is something like the fifth one, but instead of going a line with the beginning, I cut across the beginning of the oval and then do the loop. Eighth one, Same thing I do like this, but before I end it, I do a small stop and then do another curve. So you can see I do the same thing which I did in the 7th style, but the ending is different. The 9th one, it's somewhat similar to the 5th one, but I do a loop before I continue it to the connector. So I do the same upstroke and then start from the middle and then do the oval and come back and do a loop and do the connector. 10th one, in this we continue the connector to the oval and then we come back and end it there, but we leave a small gap. We don't connect the beginning and the ending. It's just 2 ovals, one within another. So we have completed all 10 styles from lowercase o. So I guess we can move on to lowercase p. So let's start with the basic p. We do a downstroke and then the reversed oval, continuing to the next letter. So that would be basic p, just a line and the oval. And then for the second style, I'm going to do a small variation of the basic one. I curve it at the end of the downstroke. So I draw the downstroke, but I curve it a little bit and then do my reversed oval. Third style is I'm going for a descending loop and then the oval. So I always continue it to the next letter across the oval. So always remember to lift your pen in between strokes. So the fourth one is going to be a variation of the first style. Instead of closing the oval, I open up the oval at the bottom and continue it to the next letter. So the fifth style, in all the previous styles, I started the oval on top of the downstroke, but here I'm going to extend a line from the bottom of the downstroke up to the oval and then do an open oval. So I come down and from there I draw a line up and continue to the oval and do the connector. For the sixth one, I do the descending loop and then I do the open oval, loop and then the oval. And for the seventh one, same downstroke but with a swirl at the end, and then I do a swirl in the middle of the P, and then from there I do the connector up. So this is the version we always do with the swirls. And then the eighth one, so instead of the swirl at the end, I'm going to replace it with a loop, and then I do a loop in the middle as well. So the swirls are replaced with small loops. And for the ninth one, here I'm going to bring the oval a little bit beyond the downstroke and then continue to the upstroke or the connector. So I come down on the downstroke and do the oval beyond the downstroke and do the connector. The 10th one is a flourish on the downstroke. So I do ovals at the end of the downstroke and then I do a oval for the P. So the flourish is done by 2 ovals at the end of the downstroke and then the small oval for the P. So we have completed all 10 styles of P and O. Let's move on to Q. So as usual, starting off with the basic, we do an oval and then a descending loop in the reversed way and then the upstroke. So here we do a descending loop but in the other way around, and then for the second style, I continue the upstroke to the oval and then do the same reversed descending loop. So instead of stopping there, I continue it to the oval and then do my reverse descending loop and then the upstroke. That one is going to be the same but with a space in between the oval and the downstroke. So I do this, but I don't complete the oval. I keep an opening at the beginning of the oval and the beginning of the descending loop. So you can see what I did there. And then for the fourth one, so here we are going to create a continuation for where we start our upstroke. So instead of having a stop there, we do a small loop and continue for the upstroke. So here you can see clearly what we have done. And then for the fifth one, instead of that loop there, I take it a bit beyond across the downstroke and then just continue it the other way around to the upstroke. So I do the oval and then come down in the reverse loop and then go back and go up. Sixth style, we do the same thing but the loop will be out of the letter. In the earlier one, we cut across the downstroke or the descender, but here we come out of it and do the loop. Seventh style, now this will be our open oval and then I continue the same thing we did in the fifth style. So instead of closing up the oval, we keep it a bit open at the end and then do a stop in the middle before the upstroke and do the upstroke. Eighth style, I'm going to do a small oval instead of the usual size and I'm going to do the descender like in the fourth style, but it has to come a bit beyond this point, so I'm going to do it again and show. So the loop will be beyond the downstroke or our descender. So in the fourth style we have cut across the descender, but here we go beyond the descender and do the loop. So it's like two loops like a flower at the bottom. And then for the ninth one, I'm going to create a loop in the beginning of the descender and then do the descender. So there's a small loop at the beginning of the descender and at the ending of the descender. 10th or the final style for our cue, we do the open oval and then we do a bigger loop cutting across the descender and continue to the upstroke. So the loop is a bit bigger than the ones we did earlier. So we have completed all 10 styles from Q now to R. So to start with R, we do an upstroke and then do a loop and then come down and do an underturn. So for the R, we have a loop in the beginning and then we have an underturn. And for the second style, I'm gonna get rid of the loop in the beginning and do the same thing we did, but instead of the smooth transition, we do a stop there and then do the underturn. So we go upstroke and then a small down and then the underturn. Third style, do 3 strokes which are just upstrokes and downstrokes only. So upstroke, downstroke and upstroke. Fourth one, I start with an overturn and then do a small swiggle at the end. So for the fifth one, It's somewhat similar to the second style, but in the second style you have the first upstroke a bit bigger than the underturn, but here you have them both in the same size. Sixth one, this is a straight line instead of that curve in the middle, so we do upstroke, straight line, and then underturn. Seventh one, we do a bigger loop than the first one we did, so we do a big loop and then do our underturn. So this is a bit different than the first style because it has a huge loop. Eighth one, this has a small loop compared to the first one, and the loop is in the same level of the underturn, whereas earlier we did it over the underturn. For the ninth one, this is the bigger loop again on the same level, so we do it on the same level as the underturn. And then the 10th one, we're gonna do a flourish. So instead of doing an underturn here, we do a downstroke and continue it into a simple flourish. So it's like a loop at the end of the downstroke in a flourishing way. So we have completed all 10 styles of R. So today we have done O, P, Q and R. So we have done 40 styles of 4 letters. So let's move on to the word of the day. So all 4 letters done with the words of the day: optimum, pleasure, quest and righteous. So we have only 2 more tutorials for the lowercase. So after that we'll be completing our lowercase styles. So don't forget, I have a practice sheet for every letter in the description below. And also, if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notification so you'll know when I upload a video as soon as I do. Bye bye.